Welcome to another edition of Osteria Il Centro's My Favorite Bottle. I'm Shelley Hall with Glazers Midwest. I have a special guest with me this afternoon. This is Jamie Satch with Penfolds. He is their global brand ambassador. Magically, we have glasses in a bottle, and luckily it happens to be the bottle that we were talking about earlier today that I think you mentioned might be one of your favorite wines in the Penfolds lineup.
It most certainly is. Yes, Shelley, we have the Penfolds Bin 28 Kalimna Shiraz, one of my all-time favourite wines. So, let's try it.
All right.
Pour you a little taste of this wine.
Why, thank
you. In fact,
you.
I'll make it a generous one. There you
Oh,
go.
thank you.
This wine, we've been making at Penfolds since 1959. That was the first experimental vintage of this wine. It went into commercial scale production in 1962. We've made it every single vintage since then. It's a classic Penfolds wine. Today, it's a multi-regional blend. We source fruit for this wine from across the warmer districts of South Australia. So we're looking for fruit with really generous flavour profiles. Actually, you know, if you're looking at the DNA of the Penfolds brand, there's a lot of Grange DNA in this wine. You know, and I don't say that lightly. You know, Grange is our flagship Shiraz. It's our greatest wine, and we make it in very small volumes. But, you know, Bin 28 in many regards follows in the footsteps of Grange. It's a Shiraz, Grange's too. We source from different vineyards across South Australia, same with Grange. We're going into the warmer climate areas of South Australia, in particular places like the Barossa Valley and McLaren Vale, where we're getting that big, generous, robust Shiraz fruit that we so like at Penfolds. And we're also maturing it in the same kind of oak barrels. They're American oak hogsheads. Now, the difference being, though, that Grange always goes into brand new American oak. Right. Bin 28, we're putting into seasoned barrels. So they're 2 or 3 years of age. And you can still detect the oak. There's some oak character coming through in this wine. It's framing up the fruit, but it's not swamping it. It's not a dominating feature of the wine. It's there and it's generous, but it's in balance. And same with Grange. You know, you taste any Penfolds wine, oak is not going to be a feature that is too dominant over the fruit. We always strive to make sure that our wines are in balance. Certainly the case with this one, because we want consumers to have the choice to either drink it when it's young, because it's delicious when it's young, there's no question. Right. But again, our DNA is that our wines will mature gracefully for many, many years. And we know that consumers are putting this particular wine down in their cellars for many, many years because we often see them presented at the Penfolds red wine recorking clinics. Now, I know you know a little bit about these clinics, but I'll explain how
tell us more.
We've been running recorking clinics since 1991. We invite consumers to bring in their old bottles of wine, they have to be 15 years and older, red of course, into the clinics, and they can present them to a Penfolds winemaker for assessment. Now, if the wines are in perfect condition, we congratulate them, we pat them on the back and we send them home, tell them to keep doing whatever they're doing. If, however, the wines are showing a little wear and tear, maybe the ullage has dropped down to the point of curvature where the neck meets the shoulder of the bottle, then we start to think about advising them about recorking the wines. There's always an independent expert from an auction house to come and appraise the bottle for them and give them independent advice. But if they choose to go ahead with the recorking process, we open up the wine, we taste it, we assess it. If it's found to be in good condition, then we'll actually recork the bottle. We put a fresh, new, springy cork in there after we've topped it up with a little bit of current release wine. It's like giving it a little shot of adrenaline, just perking it up. A new capsule goes over the top, and on the back of the bottle we affix a label of certification that has an individual serial number that we record in the database. It's an incredible after-sales service. We're the only company in the world that does anything like it. We've been doing it since 1991. We've done over 170,000 bottles of wine now. So it's been a really successful program. But one of the great things about it from my perspective is that, you know, we get to join the winemakers, we get to go on tour, we get to taste these amazing old wines. And we see things like Bin 28 from the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, still drinking well, you know, and we can recork them and tell the consumer, you know, perhaps you want to think about drinking this one sooner than later, or put it down in the cellar for another few years, and you know you'll see a reward for your endeavours. But why don't we taste this wine? I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Yeah, cheers.
Thanks for coming again.
Boy, it's good. There's that lovely richness to it, buoyant fruit, but again, it's in balance. It's got a really nice cut through on the palate, so the acid and the fruit are in harmony there. There's tannins and they're grippy, but they're not green. They're ripe tannins that are just sort of rounding that fruit out beautifully, and you know that those tannins are going to lend that wine to longevity.
Because this is current vintage, so
absolutely.
It can only get better.
It's current vintage, so you know a lot of people like drinking it just as it is because they like primary fruit. But you know, if you put this in a cellar and allow it to evolve with the passage of time, you know, somewhere 6 and 7 years down the track is probably where I will really enjoy drinking it. It'll still have primary fruit there, but the tangible benefit of bottle age and maturation will become apparent. But it will plateau out for years. You know, it'll be at its peak drinking somewhere from 7 to 20 years of age before it drifts away into that twilight zone where it becomes all tertiary, and it's more about leather, and forest floor and undergrowth and earthy characters. Some people want to wait for that, in which case, fine, this wine's going to deliver. You can put it down in your cellar and drink it when it's 25 or 30 years old, and that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Other people will prefer to take it off the shelf at the bottle shop tomorrow and drink it tonight.
So Jamie, I come to Osteria El Centro all the time. It's one of my favorite restaurants. And when I'm drinking this Penfolds, I really like to have some things kind of like the veal meatballs is fantastic with it, with that real rich red sauce, and then even some lamb. Are those pretty good pairings?
Oh, absolutely. I love lamb. I come from Australia. We eat a lot of lamb. But I also really think the lasagna would work brilliantly with this. It's those rich flavours are going to work so well with a Shiraz like this.
So as we're drinking this Ben 28, it's fantastic, but there's got to be some more out there that are some of your favorites.
Oh yeah, Penfolds has a pretty wide range of wines. One of my all-time favourites is the Bin 389. I think if you ask any Penfold winemaker which wine they have the most of in their cellar, it'd probably be Bin 389 because it's getting a lot of the material, the grapes and the wine, parcels of wine that have just narrowly missed the contention for Grange. They've just missed out on the cut. The next port of call for that declassified material is into Bin 389. The same with Bin 707, our flagship Cabernet Sauvignon. Not an inexpensive wine, but the parcels that do not make the cut for 707 are blended into Bin 389. So there's a good reason why we call it the Baby Grange. It's a wine of outstanding calibre. But it is a special occasion wine. You're going to drink it on the weekend or a special occasion with your friends. But 407 is another classic. It's a Penfolds Cabernet Sauvignon. I know people like Cabernet Sauvignon in the US, and we certainly do in Australia. It's the second most widely planted grape varietal in Australia. And Penfolds Bin 407 is an absolutely outstanding wine at a very good price point. Again, it's a special occasion kind of wine. If you're looking for something a bit more everyday, then we've got that base covered too. There's a range of wines we make called the Canunga Hill range. My favourite Canunga Hill wine of all time is the one that we started making first back in 1976, and that's the Canunga Hill Shiraz Cabernet blend. You get this beautiful synergy with blending the two grape varietals together. The opulence of Shiraz framed up with the beautiful cool fruits of Cabernet that, Cabernet is adding lift and aromatics and structure. Just a really beautiful combination, and it's an inexpensive wine that you can, drink guilt-free on a Wednesday night. Have a couple of glasses with your pasta for dinner, and not worry that you're demolishing something beautiful out of the cellar that you should have saved for a special occasion.
Right.
So I think we've got the bases covered.
Thank you again for joining us. I'm Shelley Hall with Glazers. This has been another edition of Osteria El Centro's My Favorite Bottle. Once again, my guest, Jamie Satch with Penfolds. He is the Global Brand Ambassador. Thanks again for coming, Jamie.
Cheers. Thanks
Cheers.
for having me, Shelley.